This is the Detroit Sports Podcast Network.
CBD is a game changer sweeping the nation. This hemp extract is the natural way to elevate your mood, eliminate aches and pains, reduce anxiety, and keep you sleeping all night long. It can even cut your workout recovery time in half. Get in the game today with 20% off all orders of CBD and lavender products from Lavender Lane, a lavender farm located right here in Milan, Michigan. Just go to lavenderlanemi.com today and enter coupon code DETROIT for 20% off your entire order. Guys, look, these amazing products are infused with calming lavender to maximize their effectiveness, meaning your CBD items only take minutes to take effect, which is way quicker than those pills you were about to swallow. On top of it, they are perfect for men and women. Lavender Lane has lab-tested CBD creams, tinctures, and roll-ons that are perfect for any situation, even if you're on the go. Put your health back in your hands by heading over to lavenderlanemi.com and entering coupon code DETROIT for 20% off your entire order of CBD and lavender products. What do you have to lose? Your satisfaction is guaranteed or your money back. So if you need lavender gifts for your loved ones or just looking for the natural way to ease your discomfort with CBD, go to lavenderlanemi.com and use coupon code DETROIT to unlock these miraculous benefits of CBD and lavender. That's lavenderlanemi.com. And remember, use coupon code DETROIT for 20% off your CBD and lavender products from Michigan's own Lavender Lane.
Is there a sports podcast in Detroit that people are talking about?
Hey, everybody, this is Freddie Cohen of ESPN Radio. When I'm not talking about breaking news or breaking news on ESPN Radio, I'm always a fan and listen to the Detroit Sports Podcast, and so should you.
Welcome, everybody, to the latest edition of Doc and Jock. I am the Doc, John Macaroon, always looking forward to the conversation with my cousin, Adam, the Jock Strozinski. What's up, cuz?
What up, baby? What's going on?
Man, it's all good, man. I think the Lions bye week happened at the perfect time, man.
Perfect time?
Yes, 4 games.
You need to explain this to me.
Covering the Lions is a little bit more expansive than I thought it would be. There's a lot of information, a lot of things to check in terms of film, in terms of quotes, in terms of stories. And then there's this whole other world of reporting on what other people are reporting on the Detroit Lions. You know, you got people that are saying the Lions suck, they're going to lose 15 straight games. And then you got people now saying, you know what, they're the fourth best team in the entire NFL. And reporting on that, you got to look at, there's just so much to look at. That when I recorded a podcast, I literally said, I've looked at so much information, I think my head is going to explode. But luckily, the information absorbed properly. I made the right call. But I really did want to pick the Lions to beat the Chiefs, cuz I really did. But when 98% of the media, 98% picked them, I was just like, you know what? I'm just going to give them respect on the defense, and maybe they'll limit them. But no way, man. The Chiefs are unreal. You're probably... If you watch that game Sunday, Lions-Chiefs, you probably saw one team that's probably going to be in the AFC title game or Super Bowl, in fact. Andy Reid has got a squad. He can't mess this up.
Oh, dude, the Chiefs are sick. I mean, obviously, they've got the MVP as their quarterback. On top of that, they just kind of plug and play with the running backs. LaShawn McCoy, that's the best he's looked in freaking years. On top of that, they're doing all this without their top wide receiver in Tyreek Hill, who's nursing an injury. So, yeah, they're pretty freaking good. All that being said, do you want to do the bye week now? Do you want to get in the bye week right now? Because I think you're off. I don't think the bye week comes at a good time for these Detroit Lions. Yeah, they played a really difficult Kansas City team, and they looked good doing it. They really did. We're going to discuss that in a few. But I think this bye week comes at a really bad time. If you look at Matt Stafford's last 2 games have probably been his most efficient and probably the best he's looked in the last 24 games that he's played, 25 games going back almost to not last season, but the season before that. Matt Stafford looks super efficient. Looks like he's firing on all cylinders. And now he's got to take a week off. I think it helps him a little bit because he was dealing with that You're not really sure if it's a hip or it's a back. They're being a little bit quiet on what the injury is. But that being said, I think he's in a rhythm right now. I think he looks good. I think he feels pretty good, all things considered. I think this offense looks like it's got its groove back. I feel like this offense is Stella, and she got her groove back, and she's figuring it out. I mean, Kerryon's not putting up great numbers, but he's being productive. He's falling forward, which is what you need. I think the passing game looks incredibly good the last 2 weeks. I just think this bye week hurts a little bit. Defensively, they look like they're a team that has kind of figured out what they needed to do. You did bring in a couple new parts, and you have a couple new pieces on that defense. And it seemed like there were some growing pains, especially early this season. And it seems like the last couple weeks, those growing pains aren't as magnified. So I think this team is kind of finding its mode, and now all of a sudden it's got to take a week off. I think it just comes at a really poor time.
See, the other aspect of it, too, is that for whatever reason, the Lions have suffered a bunch of injuries all at once. Darius Slay, Danny Amendola, the TJ Hawkinson freak hurdling incident.
That was crazy.
That was pretty sick, and to see it live, I thought potentially maybe it was more severe than it was, because he went out UFC style. His arms went limp, and he went limp. And then on the radio, Lomas Brown had said that from what he's seen in the past, he was out. He's like, he was concerned and things like that. So that was a long pause and things like that. So in terms of the injuries, I think the week off comes at the right time, especially now you get an extra day off in preparation for the Green Bay Packers. So on that front, I do think that the bye week does help. Now, I know the tough part is going forward, playing 12 games in 12 weeks. That's going to be super tough for any NFL team. But I think for this team at this time, the bye week came at the perfect time, because you get all the weapons back. I think a lot of the athletes that were hurt are going to be at least very close to coming back Monday Night Football when they return from the bye week.
I would hope so. And I think it sets up really nice for Monday night. They get a bye week. They take on Green Bay. I believe they're playing in Green Bay that night. You always like playing Green Bay early in the season, especially at Green Bay, just because you don't want to go and play in that icy tundra known as Lambeau Field late in the season. I think it sets up good for that specific game. But all that being said, I just don't know if it's what's best for business in the long run. Look, watching this game, it dawned on me that this team has potential. You can see what Matt Patricia is trying to put together here. And this is what I kind of took out from this loss. You can see what Matt Patricia wants to do with this team. You can see what he wants to do with this offense. That offense was ball control. It was making smart, timely passes. Matt Stafford looked so efficient. He looked like a legitimate NFL quarterback. And on the defensive side, they got pressure to Patty Mahomes. That was the one thing we talked about that they had to do to keep him in check. They got pressure to him. They didn't allow him to score a touchdown, which was big. On top of all that, these guys were forcing fumbles. I don't know how many peanut punches I've seen in this game, or guys going after the ball. They weren't just trying to wrap guys up. They were going after the ball, which is huge. That's something, if you watch Detroit Lions football, you haven't seen that. You haven't. I don't care how old you are. You haven't seen that. And watching this game, at least 6 or 7 times out loud, I said, oh, my God, they're a legit football team. This is a legit football team. Now, I don't know if they're going to make the playoffs, but this is a legitimate football team. You can say that this team has some credibility in this league. So when you hear guys talk about, they're 4th in the NFL in their power rankings, or it's a top 12 team in their power rankings on the rise, or this team looks super credible, it's probably not going to make the playoffs this year, but this is a legitimate football team, it's because it's all true. Go back, watch this game. Watch what they did, not just on offense, but watch what they did on defense, and then watch their special teams. Their special teams didn't let them down this week, which is big. The special teams looked pretty decent the week before as well. Offensively, they played a very efficient game, and they scored points when they needed to and had to, right? It came down to that last drive, 30 seconds? I don't know how you're going to go 75 yards. I guess elite teams get it done. The Detroit Lions are not an elite team. Neither one of us are saying they're an elite team, but this is a very good football team. that I think has building blocks and has pieces. And that's the one thing I took out of this is they're not there yet. Okay. They're just not. And I think you can see Matt Patricia and Bob Quinn's plan kind of starting to come together. Last year was super rough, man. Last year was not a good year for this team. The first week of the season was not a good first week of the season for this team. But they have kind of righted the ship. They look much more efficient, both offensively and defensively. And overall, I think this team is going to make some noise. Maybe not this season, but definitely next season.
Yeah, that's the thing I took away too as well was when you watch that game, you said, okay, finally we can talk about plays. We can talk about strategy. We can talk about certain individual performances. We can start talking about what other NFL teams talk about, which is we can pick apart strategy. We can pick apart certain situations and things like that. I do think that there is a framework of a team. Exactly. I like the defense. I like what they did with Patrick Mahomes. And what did we say, when Matt Patricia was hired? Can he build a system where, hey, if a Darius Slay is out, can you stop Patrick Mahomes? Yes, they can. But now, here's the tough part, is that the Lions blew this game. They had an opportunity when the Chiefs made their mistakes. And look, when you watch the game, the Chiefs didn't play their A game. They kind of took their foot off the gas a little bit. They didn't play as well as previous games. They didn't play as good. And so the Lions missed out on an opportunity to really get the victory. And the tough part is, they made a lot of mistakes. Their own selves, they made mistakes. Matthew Stafford fumbled the football. There were opportunities there where Kerryon Johnson is about to score late in the third quarter, and then he tells everyone, look, I know I was coached not to reach out, and I know it's a football play to try and extend your arms to get that touchdown or to inch a little bit further, and he makes the mistake, and then Kenny Galladay compounds the problem by not playing to the whistle, which that play was confusing as well because nobody thought that, the KC defender was actually, supposed to be running down to the other side there. Everyone kind of slowed down. It was just like a big, huge, confused mess. And so you're taught to play to the whistle. So there's a lot of mistakes there. Then, bottom line, you could even pinpoint it to one specific play. 4th down and 8, you're down to one play. It's offense versus defense. And I said that in my recap. I said, that's what you wanted. That's what I wanted to see. I wanted to see that. The Kansas City Chiefs offense against the Lions defense late. And unfortunately, the Lions blinked first. They made a mistake. 2 guys went to cover the running back, and Patrick Mahomes is running free on a 4th and 8, and he earns the first down. And they go on to get the touchdown. So in essence, your biggest strength, the defense, did not come through in the biggest moment. And that's very frustrating because this is supposed to be a defensive team. This is supposed to be a team now, I would assume after 4 games, would not make similar mistakes that they did in week 1. And that's the thing that Patricia, when he speaks to the media day in and day out, will say is, I got to coach better. I got to clean it up. Eventually speaking, someone's going to have to say, okay, how are you going to go about that? Because we're seeing certain mistakes at certain times in repeated games, and that's not a good thing. So that's why this game upcoming is so huge. 3-1-1 looks so much sweeter than 2-2-1, in my opinion. So it's really fascinating now to look at it because these next 2 games are really going to dictate how people perceive the Detroit Lions. And I could see it going both ways because it's crazy. I could see the Lions winning the next 2 games, being 4-1-1, and I could see the Lions losing the next 2 games, and we're talking about the same old thing. It's right there on the brink. It's fascinating, but it's good to talk about our football team in this manner where you start to see, okay, there are some good plays to balance out the mistakes.
No, man, I think you're absolutely right. You're spot on. It's as a Lions fan, you're never happy with a loss, right? But I think this loss felt different. Coming away from this game, you're kind of like, man, like everybody knows Kansas City's a really good freaking team, right? Everybody knows that's one hell of a football team that's probably going to make some noise this year and will probably be playing in a Super Bowl. So to go head to head with them and to basically take them to the final 30 seconds of a game, I think we all leave this game feeling much, much better about this team and where it's at and where it's headed. The thing is, you just got to learn to close, man. ABC, always be closing. And they're just not there yet. They're just not there yet. All that being said, I think there were, like you said, a couple plays where the referees totally didn't help this team. I mean, you talked about the Kerryon Johnson play, right? that play alone, I'm not sure why it was allowed to continue forever like that. Normally they blow that play dead and you kind of start all over. They let it continue for what felt like an eternity. After that, once he fumbles, the ball gets picked up and the Kansas City player picks the ball up with one knee down in the end zone, with the ball in the end zone. He downed the football in the end zone. Ball comes out to the 25. Patrick Mahomes, that offense, takes over at the 25. Instead, he's allowed to make a clean break for it and run it all the way down and score a touchdown. Even upon review, they didn't get that right. Made no sense to me. And you're right. Kenny Golladay should have tackled him, should have played to the whistle. You always play to the whistle. You know, even if that means it's going to penalize you, you take a 5 or a 15-yard penalty. I don't care. You're not giving up a touchdown. You know what I'm saying? And then you look at the Kenny Golladay touchdown that wasn't a touchdown. I mean, look, man, if you looked at Twitter, and I know Twitter is no NFL rules analyst, but all day long, everybody's like, it's a touchdown. Like it is clear as day. It was a touchdown. It blows my mind that these little things kind of happen. Now, could you say that they got a favorable call when Kenny Golladay made the touchdown where he toe tapped along the sidelines there? I guess, but if you go back and you watch that play over, once he got that second foot down, the referee after the play points right at his foot and then goes up with both hands. So the referee said, I seen it, it's down, it's a touchdown. So when you go back and you look for a definitive angle, you couldn't really find one. So there was no way they could overturn that. But I do feel like the referees kind of took this game away in aspects. I don't ever like to blame the referees. Either you win or you lose, right? And it's all on you. It's not on the refs. But I do think those two plays really hurt these Detroit Lions, and this team is just not good enough yet to close out a big game like this.
Yeah,
but
that's the thing. Yep, exactly.
The foundation's there.
Yeah, the foundation's there. The pieces are in place. A system is in place where you can have injuries and certain guys will step it up. And the fight is there. You see the fight. You see the team compete from start to finish. And that's good to see. A lot of good signs. And then we can even talk about Matthew Stafford. Look, we give him a lot of shit. But at the same time, when he zings the ball in there, wow, he looks like the Stafford of old. And if he's hurt, you know, all the credit for him to tough it out and brave it out. He's making some key throws. He's now making Kenny Golladay. That connection is emerging, and people are noticing 4 touchdowns this season for Kenny Golladay. He's finding the target. He's finding Marvin Jones, and I think credit has to go to Matthew Stafford and to offensive coordinator Darrell Bevell, who realized, okay, you know what? The last 2 weeks, he's handed the ball to Kerryon Johnson, and guess what? Some decent things have happened, especially against the Chiefs. So a lot of good things to look at there, a lot of good things to look at on defense as well, in that, you know what, you were able to at least contain Patrick Mahomes. He didn't destroy you, but at the end of the day, you have to make those plays late. You have to make those key plays. You can't count on the refs, you know, to be there and help you out. You got to kind of basically go into it and assume that the refs are going to be terrible. You got to overcome it. And when they do, I think this is a good learning lesson to happen now. When this stuff happens, hopefully later in the season, and there's some adversity, the Lions will just go to next play, next man up, and hopefully maybe they learn from it where when there's a 4th down and 8, the Lions, you know, cover the right man, they get into their set the right way, and they can learn from it. Maybe it'll be in a playoff game, but I think the fair thing to do is to assume that, you know what, get ready, because when the playoffs hit, if the Lions are the division champs and they're winning it, Ford Field, baby, we're going to have a 10-point lead up in the fourth quarter, and then some bullshit call is going to happen, and our opponent, whether it be a team in the division or Seattle or whoever's in the postseason, is going to take advantage. So get ready, guys. Get ready for the heartache. It's right there. You know, your first-round tight end is, you know, trying to hurdle some guy, and he goes right to the turf and gets a severe concussion and freaked everybody out. So luckily, it wasn't a season-long injury, so unusual stuff just happens to the Detroit Lions, and hopefully that you get it out of the way in the first 4 games. 2-1-1's not bad, right? To start the year. 2-1-1 is not bad. Decent. I would give the team right now, I'd grade the team a B. Overall, they can get better. There's potential to get better, but if they continue to make mistakes, it can go south real fast.
No, you're absolutely right, man. They've got to stay diligent. They got to keep doing what they're doing. And you know what? Use this game to build for the season. Honestly, you just went toe-to-toe and head-to-head, and you lost the game in the final 30 seconds to a team that's probably going to be representing the AFC in the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
So, I mean, all credit to them, you know?
Yeah, and I want to share something too. So after covering the game, I missed the last play because I wanted to get down to the locker room. So obviously, I kind of just assumed that, okay, it's going to be done. And of course, there was a controversial play there where, a Kansas City defender pushes Marvin Jones, basically shoves him out of the way. There's no call there. But I'm down, and I get to the elevators fast, so I'm one of the first groups in. And so now I for the first time, see how it goes. The first set of people that are allowed to go down are the coaches. So all the Kansas City coaches are excited. They're high-fiving, and it really did look like a sense of relief. They all let out a deep breath, like they just invested a lot into it, and they put a lot into the coaching. And so the coaches for Kansas City, they get in the first set of elevators. They go down. Then the next set are a couple guys that are injured, and then Bob Quinn gets in the elevator. And I'm looking, I'm like, oh, that's Bob Quinn. It's the first time I was that close to the general manager of the Detroit Lions, and he's behind the elevator attendant, and I just hyper-focus on him. I think a couple maybe ex-players or dignitaries or maybe some staffers from WJR, they get in with him, and they go down, but I get a chance to see him, and he has his head down, and he looks so dejected, and he looked so bummed out. He looked into it. And I was like, oh, I like that. It freaked me out because he was so dejected. He was like head bobbing. He was so down, and he looked so sad. And I was just thinking to myself, man, he's into it. I just kept thinking, man, the hours that you put in to be that close, I think he wanted it so bad. I saw the competitiveness in him. It was really cool to see. He was so bummed out. Like, he was just thinking, man, a couple plays. And I think probably at that very moment, he was thinking, damn, we were at 4th and 8. What more does it take? One play is all we need. Why can't it go in our way one time? Or after that play, why can't the Lions just give up the field goal? Why do they have to give up the touchdown? And you could just sense the dejection. It felt like a long time before the elevator door closed. But yeah, wherever he went to, it was definitely a lasting memory of seeing Bob Quinn that dejected after a loss. And it must stick with him, too, because you put your heart and soul into something, and you're so close within 2-3 plays. That's what it is in the NFL. I'm bracing myself for heartache because that's how it goes with the Detroit Lions. And, man, Bob Quinn felt it that day.
It sounds like his life came to an end, or at least he looked like it.
Yeah.
But
he looked bummed out. He looked bummed out, truly bummed out.
I mean, this was a game that I was at home, and I was watching the game with a friend that we have out here in South Bend, and I was pumped. I was screaming. I was like, we got a legitimate football team.
For once.
This is crazy. I was like, just wait though. Wait, like you always put the caveat. Just wait. They'll find a way to blow it.
Yeah.
And they blew it.
And they blew it.
You're right. What was it? Was it 3rd or 4th and 8? And you give up 12 yards. I mean, come on. You can't do that.
And 2 guys go cover the running back. It's a mistake. It's never supposed to happen. Never supposed to happen in a million years, man. But the Lions, big game coming up. I can't wait next week to talk to you to break it down because the bye week's here now, so things are slowing down a little bit. But they'll ramp up again next Tuesday, Wednesday of next week. The players kind of get back in the fold and things like that. So definitely stay tuned to the Detroit Sports Podcast. We're all over it. We enjoy covering the Detroit Lions. Love talking NFL football and wild, wild game. But at the very least, a lot of people, including Andy Reid himself, said, hey, these guys look legit. They played hard. And that's a good sign, a very good sign in that we can start talking about, strategy. We can start talking about key plays instead of talking about the organization as a whole. For me, by and large, I do hope that they, go out there and maybe get Jalen Ramsey or get someone of impact because I think they are literally 1 or 2 players away from maybe making a deep run. So maybe in the draft or maybe next year when the next set of guys come in, you're starting to see some things, and that's a good sign. But at the end of the day, we can't go to break without talking about QB9. If he's not healthy, if this week doesn't help him, if he's brittle, look out because you got to start talking about it. You can't just say, oh, this is the greatest arm in the world, where now in the last 2 years, that offensive line's killing him. And unfortunately, hey, if his mobility is affected, if his ability to read the football field is diminished a little bit, you don't get younger as the season progresses. You got to pay attention to that. Stafford does typically start the seasons okay. And then as the season progresses, in the big moments, maybe like going on the road to Lambeau. Sometimes you got to pay attention to that. So, look, Stafford's great. He's a great quarterback. He's the best we've ever seen. But we're not judging Stafford based on the garbage quarterbacks the Lions have had roll through Allen Park and Ford Field and the Silverdome. We're judging him against Tom Brady. And when you judge him against Tom Brady, there's a vast difference. There's a lot more growing that can take place. So that's the way I want you guys that are listening to this to view Matthew Stafford. Don't view him against Dan Orlovsky. Please view him against Tom Brady. Does Tom Brady just drop the football at the worst possible time? Come on now. Does Tom Brady do those things? No. So that's what I want you to, and that's how you need to compare Matthew Stafford, is that pay attention to how he's throwing it, and he better be up for the challenge when it's Stafford v. Rodgers, Monday Night Football in front of the entire nation.
Yeah, man. It's going to be a good game. Hopefully Stafford's healthy, and hopefully these guys show up and they just ball out. I mean, like you said, what is it? 3-1-1 would be a really nice record to have.
No doubt about it. All right, let's show love to the sponsors. The reason why we're able to keep the lights on and the studio mics hot here in our Sterling Heights office is because of great sponsors. The two great sponsors this week are the Motor City Pawnbrokers and the Flick Chat application. The Motor City Pawnbrokers are the one-stop pawn shop when you're looking for quality brand name, pre-owned, or new merchandise. With four great locations in Metro Detroit, in Roseville, Warren, Ferndale, and Detroit. Their mission is to deliver exceptional value. So today, head on over to MotorCityPawnbrokers.com. That's the MotorCityPawnbrokers.com. If you're in the area, if you're near one of their four locations, please feel free to walk in. Mark and the crew, they built their business on great customer service. They definitely want to dispel all the bad stereotypes regarding pawn shops. Go in there. Clean locations, great customer service. They do want to indeed help you out. So today, go visit MotorCityPawnbrokers.com. If you've agreed or disagreed with anything that Adam and I have said, if anything that Adam's tweeted or I've tweeted just rubs you the wrong way, head on over to the Flick Chat application. What's Flick? It's Detroit Sports' newest headquarters. It's where you can go and interact with other passionate Detroit sports fans in a group chat format. It's a fun time when the Lions game is happening and everyone's all riled up. When the refs are blowing calls, we all can go and complain in one big, huge group community. We can complain together and ride the emotional roller coaster of being a Detroit Lions supporter and reporter. So all you have to do is go to your favorite app store and download Flick Chat. And within moments, you're going to be in the group. If you happen to be online and you see our invite link, all you got to do is click it, hit that little plus button, and enter these three letters, all lowercase DSP, and just like that, you're in the group. Flick Chat, Detroit Sports' newest headquarters. All right, cuz we got to break it down. At least it was a little bit of a reprieve for the Michigan Wolverines. Look, it was so funny on Saturday to see it's Rutgers trending on Twitter. I thought it was hilarious all the way around to see that. I think a lot of people are keeping it in perspective and people are not getting too high because Michigan won. And I think that's where we'll keep it, is that, look, you beat Rutgers. They already fired their coach. Rutgers sucks. They need to be booted from the Big Ten. Now everyone turns their attention to the game. Home versus Iowa. It's a big game, and one in which, if they lose it, there's going to be a whole hell of a lot of problems in Ann Arbor.
No, I think you're right, man. This game is going to tell us everything we need to know about this team. Honestly, Michigan needs to win this game. If they don't, fans should be burning freaking the stadium gates down, honestly. This game for Michigan, the way they win this game and the way you'll know if they're going to win this game is if they can run the ball. If they can run the ball and run the ball effectively, That's what they're going to have to do. I don't know if they're going to be able to do it. I mean, look, you beat Rutgers, cool. Good tune-up game, work some kinks out. I don't really know what you learn about this team by beating Rutgers. Rutgers is crap. But Iowa's usually a really good team, man. Iowa's going to give it to you. I mean, look, everything you need to know about this club comes down to what happens on Saturday at 12 o'clock. You know, you will find out more about this team in this one game than you will from anything else to this point. And I think if you're a Michigan fan, that's the one reason you need to tune in. You need to tune into this game to see which team shows up. You know, is this a team that's backs against the wall and they're going to fight, scratch, and claw because they need to win? They want to rise in the Big Ten? Or is this a team that is going to get punched in the mouth and they're going to collapse like a cheap card table and they're going to fold up shop and Iowa's going to crush them? That's what you got to watch. I have no read on this team. I don't know what this team really is, besides being what, in my estimation, is coached poorly by an overpaid head coach. You beat a Middle Tennessee State. Cool. They were able to hang 21 on you. You played Army. They took you to double overtime. That was the only way you were able to beat them. You were embarrassed by Wisconsin. Embarrassed after a bye week. And then you went and you shelled Rutgers. Good job. Like, what do you learn from this? There's nothing here that really tells you anything. So I think this is a big game. I think it's an important game. I think the way Michigan wins this game is being able to run the ball effectively. And I don't know if Michigan can do that. Their offensive line, tons of question marks. Running backs, you like what you've seen against lesser opponents, but when they got to a real good opponent, there was nothing there. And then you got to go and you lean on the pass game against Rutgers, which really seemed to open the pass game, and Shea Patterson being able to keep the ball and run the ball into the end zone for a couple of scores here really seemed to kind of open this up. But I don't know if that's going to work against Iowa. I just don't see it happening.
And Cuz, are you nervous? What does Iowa bring to the table? Physicality. Those are some corn-fed big boys, and it's going to be mano a mano. And I think that's what people are looking at is like, oh, my God, Iowa is the most physical team in the Big Ten, and they're going to do some damage. And can Michigan go mano a mano with these Iowa fellas? And it's going to be an interesting game, and one in which I do think that maybe that offense has to also step it up a little bit too. And, good. Josh Gaddis is on the sideline. Can he hopefully have the right quarterback calling the plays and maybe open it up, maybe a little bit of razzle-dazzle, maybe a little bit of an opportunity there to mix it up and utilize the talent that you have? I think if you can, there's a great chance that Michigan plays well versus Iowa. But, again, in big moments, in big games, does Michigan get conservative? Do they fail to open it up? Do they fail to meet the challenge and, let Iowa basically run a train on them?
Dude.
You get nervous?
So this is the thing. This is the one thing I can say about this Michigan team that I've taken out of the game so far. They don't like physical play, and every time they have been punched in the mouth, they have backed up into their shell, and they basically folded up shop and went home. So yeah, I'm nervous about this game. But then again,
I get a sense you're starting to see the bright lights of the choo-choo train. Choo-choo! Here comes the train barreling down against Michigan's offensive line. Is Shea Patterson going to be running for his life? Is he going to be throwing interceptions? Is it going to be a bunch of 3-and-outs?
Yes.
You're seeing the bright lights?
Yes,
choo-choo!
dude.
Choo-choo! The fumble on the first drive? Choo-choo!
we were talking about this team, and I gave you an updated wins projection of 6-6. I have them losing this game. I don't have them winning this game.
Oh shit!
It's just because they're not a physical team. They're soft. This team is so soft. This team has been soft for the last couple years. It's embarrassing. You've got no leadership on this squad. Your coach is a buffoon. Honestly, Jim Harbaugh, overhyped, overrated. I'm done. I'm over it. Go away. Please go away.
Look at what happened after Rutgers. MLive just tweeted as we're recording this right now. It's so funny what people write in their headlines. Brandon Justice, friend of the podcast, I joked with him a little bit. He's writing like, oh, all is not lost. MLive just tweeted, assistants praise Jim Harbaugh for keeping Michigan unified after Wisconsin. Congrats, Jim. You didn't let it all fall apart. You didn't let all your team just walk out on you. Well, guess what? One of your alumni hates your guts, and he's going all over the country and is telling everybody you suck, and you're not talented, and you're not drafting the right people, and you're not, recruiting the right people. Yeah, Braylon Edwards is the most disgruntled Michigan alumni, I think, on the face of the earth. He's like, he can't find a phone fast enough. You might be calling us up saying Jim Harbaugh sucks. The best, though, is that you start to read a little bit on it, and he's like, oh, yeah, Jim Harbaugh cut him, and he's not a happy guy, so he's just going to every outlet and is like, Michigan just has a problem. Michigan just can't recruit the right guys and everything like that, so I found that funny. But look, I'll be Mr. Brightside for a moment. Look.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I know what you're Mr.
Isn't that great? Yeah, I'm Mr. Brightside.
Yeah,
I found that to be. I thought that was great. I waited for that one for a long time. I had that one in the chamber. But the best part is that, look, the game's at home. I think that there's an opportunity for Michigan, if they do clean some things up, if they do utilize their weapons, if Shea can run the offense efficiently, and you can, first, second down. The key's going to be on those first and second down play calls. Can you get it to third and short? I do think that being at home is going to provide a certain level of comfort and a certain level of drive that's going to help Michigan. And pay attention to this. If it's not going well for Shea Patterson, he's going to get yanked. And this may be the sentinel moment. This may be the time when the move away from Shea Patterson could help. Now, Milton did okay. I mean, he held his own, but like I said, you can't really take too much stock in it because it's Rutgers. But if Shea Patterson doesn't do well, and he's replaced, and maybe the next man up shows some things, maybe you could be looking at the dawn of a new era. I think that may happen if Iowa gets out to maybe a 10-point lead early in this one. I think you guys maybe, for the future of Michigan, should hope for that. You should hope that Michigan struggles early, and Jim Harbaugh opens his eyes and goes, you know what? This Shea charade is over, and let's just move on and sit his ass on the bench, and let's play the best quarterback that's on the roster.
You know what? I think you're right. I can't argue. I can't. Look, Shea Patterson's not the future of this team, right? And I think after the first couple of weeks, we all agree that this team is not going to do what we expected it to do, at least what I expected it to do. So what do? You look to the future, because unless Jim Harbaugh is like, oh, I need to take some time off, I need a sabbatical, I need to leave this team, Dylan McCaffrey's your future, right? So why not? Why not play him? I mean, unless he's got a concussion, I don't see why you don't play him. Get his reps in now. This is, to me, I know they've only lost one game, but it's the manner in which they lost that one game. This is a lost season. You will not make it to a championship game. You will not play in the playoffs. So what are you playing for? What are we going for? I don't give a shit about a bowl game. I don't care, because when you go to the bowl games, you just lose anyways. So at this point, it's a lost season. So next man up. How can we get a head start on what we're going to do for next season? Win or
else. Oh, and actually, because the students kind of let their voice be heard. They didn't show up in droves. There was a lot of empty seats in that student section. So people voted, and plus it was a rainy day, and it wasn't the best of opponent. So the student section was pretty light in Ann Arbor.
Yeah, I mean, dude, so here's the thing, right? So my cousin hit me up a couple weeks ago. He's like, hey, do you want to go to the Rutgers game? And I was like, no, not really. Like at this point, I don't even want to go to the Ohio State game. And I know it's Ohio State, but I don't want to go. I don't want to be embarrassed. I don't want to see that crap.
Dude, Ryan Day is legit, bro. That's a second level offense. And you know what I heard on the radio was crazy? I thought it was funny actually to hear it, but people were saying and speculating, you know what? Maybe Urban Meyer was holding down the program and that Ryan Day was actually the best coach and carried that program. People are talking about him like they are about some of the best coaches and hot young coaches, like Sean McVay in the NFL. That's how much praise he's getting. But the tough part is it's hard to read because Ohio State's been playing cupcakes. I think Ryan Day's biggest challenge is going to come up now this Saturday. He's going to have to go up against a defense that's going to try their absolute best to limit their offense. So I'm definitely curious to see what Ryan Day does against Michigan State, at least if Michigan State, the goal is to cover. But I think you might be, look, I know you're definitely a Michigan supporter, but damn, you got to appreciate greatness when you see it. You might be seeing the dawn of a new era, the Ryan Day era with that offense, because it looks legit. It's sick. Justin Fields is sick. You watch the highlights. Yeah, we're like, what the hell?
Dude, Justin Fields is the real deal. It's absolutely insane. You have to appreciate what Ohio State is doing. If you don't, you're an idiot. Like, going into this game, going into the season, I totally bashed them, right? I'm an idiot. I admit I was wrong. I admit I'm a boner jam. I admit I'm stupid. Look, Ohio State is for real. Like, for real.
Yeah.
And, honestly, I think this is going to be a good test for Michigan State. Look, I'm concerned with Michigan State, like what happened last weekend against Indy. Like, Indy was able to hang 31 points on you.
Yeah.
I don't understand what happened to this defense. I don't know. I'm confused by it, Well, all that being said, offensively, you were able to put points up, which is great.
Yeah.
I think this is going to be a measuring stick game for Michigan State, which I think is going to be outstanding. We're going to see how good that defense is, and we're going to see what that offense can do. Because Ohio State's the real deal.
Yeah, because Indiana's quarterback had a coming out party, and he was dropping dimes. It's just one of those situations where when a quarterback and an offense gets hot, really, it's an offensive game. That's just the way it is. And that's the way it should be. And that's what makes college football fun. It was actually entertaining to watch it. And it was good that Michigan State emerged victorious. I think it'll teach them grit. It allowed Michigan State now to believe again. And Mark D'Antonio at home had his team ready to go. And look, at the same time, I know people are going to be concerned about that defense, but look, man, it's hard. It's hard when you got talented quarterbacks that can make plays, extend plays, and he was just dropping dimes. For whatever reason, he was on, and people are now taking notice that quarterback's going to be around a while. A true freshman quarterback is going to be doing some things. So, look, you survive in advance, and now you just go up to Columbus, take your ass whooping with respect, and hopefully you come away in a manner in which not too many guys are hurt, and your pride and ego are not too destroyed. Because if it gets out of hand, we're talking 40-10 kind of out of hand. But
I was going to say, do you think it's going to be an ass whooping? I mean, look, I'm looking at the spread right now, and Ohio State's given 20. I think it's a little bit ridiculous. I think Michigan State, and this is why, Mark D'Antonio coaches some of his best games against Ohio State. Like, go back, take a look. He does some of his best work in this game. This game and the Michigan game, I think he does his absolute best job as a head coach. And on top of all that, I think that defense is really good. I think they had a bad week last week. I don't know if I was a betting man, I think I would take Michigan State and the points.
Yeah.
And it's one of those things where I don't think this game's going to get out of hand. I believe it's going to be a close game. I don't think Michigan State wins, but I think it's a respectable game for Michigan State. I think we learn a lot about this team as well, and just how good Michigan State's defense is, and just how efficient Michigan State's offense can be. Ohio State is going to win this game. They're the real deal, but I think Michigan State keeps it close, and it's going to be a respectable game.
Yes, I do. I believe the safe bet would be to take Michigan State and the points. I think it's pretty fair. And if it gets out of hand, just bet the second half. Bet the second half over. Because if it gets out of hand, then you realize, oh boy, Mark D'Antonio is pretty much. I mean, you can't really get too upset if Michigan take. I mean, look, you can't get too upset if Michigan State takes an ass whooping. I mean, Ryan Day has just been on fire. He's got a progressive approach, and look, it's expected. I mean, this is the opening line. I think it is a little bit disrespectful to open a line at that, and people are betting it. People are betting Ohio State, to win. That's crazy. The line went up. I literally thought the line would come down. I thought people would bet Michigan State early on, but they're betting Ohio State. They believe. So the line keeps going up. It's crazy. But at the end of the day, if Michigan State, really what they got to do is they got to force turnovers. They got to kind of take the approach maybe the Lions did, was to turn around and hand the ball off and try to keep the time of possession, try to keep it to a game where you're familiar. And Mark D'Antonio's had success before. He's actually gone to Columbus and had success against Ohio State. But at the end of the day, when you're a team that's an underdog, the guy that's got to step it up is Brian Lewerke. He's got to extend plays. He's got to, when he finds that open receiver, he's got to drop it in there. and he can't make mistakes, can't turn the ball over. If Brian Lewerke can get 2 or 3 touchdowns, if he gets it rolling and that offense kind of starts to click a little bit and looks legit, they can be in this game, and then it'll be the first time that Ohio State feels that pressure. And maybe, if they're down 3 late in the game, how do they respond? So that's going to be the key for Michigan State, is to maybe put a little bit of pressure on Ohio State. Dial up some blitzes, dial up some pressure. See if Justin Fields can handle some different looks that nobody's seen before this year. So let's see what Mark D'Antonio brings to the table in this one. But at the end of the day, it's going to be a 7-point loss. Give me a loss in the neighborhood of like 35-27, 35-28.
I like that. I'm thinking maybe closer to a 10-point loss. I'm thinking something along the lines of, I don't know, we'll say 45-24-ish.
45. Woo!
So
Saturday.
I guess that's
I can't wait for Saturday.
I guess that's what I say 45. I say 45-24. That's like a 20-point loss. What am I doing? 21-point loss. 45-35. There you go. Better.
Ooh.
Let me do math. This is why I do radio, people, because I can't do math.
45-35, Adam calls it. It's going to be a fun college football weekend. I do think that, at least for the NFL fans, a little bit of break from the Lions, give us a chance to see some other teams. I'm going to definitely look for a good contest this weekend and things like that. Always enjoy the recording, cuz perfectly timed, perfectly placed. I love it. I love when we're on the clock. Everything goes super well. I want to thank Lavender Lane, Motor City Pawnbrokers, and the Flick Chat application for making it possible for me to dial up my cousin and have a good time. And that's what makes it fun to record podcasts each and every week, because of the support of you guys that are listening and the support of the sponsors who find us here at the Detroit Sports Podcast Network. Look, all you got to do, go to your favorite podcast place, your favorite podcast house, type in Detroit Sports Podcast. You will find us. You'll find daily content, great Detroit Sports Podcast. Look, we said it. We said it back then, and we'll say it today. Our goal was to spread like a virus. And what did we do? We spread all across the nation because of the great work that Adam and I did and all the hosts here that record podcasts. We did it. We had fun with it. People recognize us now. We're in the mix. Bro, I can safely say this Sunday, Lions-Chiefs, we got the most tweets we ever got sent to us. Literally over 2,000 people sent messages for all the questions and things like that. It was one of the first time ever I couldn't keep up with the flow of information, where I almost safely say in 6 years, I think I laid eyes on 99.9% of the tweets. I know I missed some on Sunday because of the sheer volume of interaction you guys gave to us, and we greatly appreciate it. It makes it fun to be in the mix, and Adam and I truly appreciate it. We love recording at all hours of the day, talking Detroit sports. It's a great time, and it's a great time for podcasts, and it's always a great time for Doc and Jock.
I love you, cuz this was a good episode. This was fun. Everybody, we appreciate all the tweets, all the support. Keep it coming in. We love it. We love the interaction. The most interactive podcast out there. And if you're a Detroit sports fan, the most interactive Detroit sports-based podcast / media company out there. Tweet us. We love it. Message us. We'll get back to you.
Peace. See everybody next week.
This was locker room talk.
Second dick.
Sorry, Detroit. Didn't quite work out.
And all I can say is Detroit Sports Podcast scores.
I have voices in my head. They counsel me. They understand. They talk.